Okay, so this is our last video in Marriage Mentor Training, and I'm going to finish with Corey and Rhonda today, and we are talking about what are the next steps. What do you do after you've met with a couple, you've gone through Marriage 101? What do you guys do from there?
So we look at that stage as we're the connectors.
Okay.
So we need to figure out who we're going to connect them to. And let me explain what I mean by that. So we've been watching them from day one, to whenever they graduate.
Yes.
Right? And we need to connect them, depending on where they're at in their progression, and to maybe a professional counselor, depending on what the scenario is. Or they may be ready for marriage mentoring. And then we would, of course, connect them to the campus pastor and let them, train them and get them ready. Or we may plug them into a small group, or maybe they want to go into kids' church and teach for a little while or something of that nature. But we're going to plug them in and make sure that they're not just, hey, here you go, and you're out the door.
So you graduated, now good luck to you, right? You want to get them connected somehow. So when you talk about professional counseling, for some of those couples, you guys get a sense like these guys really need more than what marriage mentoring is.
Right.
And so they need connection to a professional counselor.
Right.
Which, however that works in your church, talk to your pastor, your ministry leader, and find out what those resources are.
And that'll usually come out. I mean,
right.
That's one of those things when you're doing enough of sessions with them and you gain that trust, you're going to know that
you're going to get a sense for that.
There's something there, an addiction or something, safety feature, safety factor, something like that.
Right. Yeah, and even if you guys, yes, your ministry leader or pastor could do a training, or you guys yourself, if you feel like the couple's ready, could take them through this marriage mentor training, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And get them
it's
ready.
Fun to do that part.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if they're ready, they'll usually ask, how do I do this?
That's
or how did you guys get into it?
Yes.
And that's their way of being curious.
That's
just
right.
to say, how do I do this? So
yeah, what's something else you're looking for when you're with a couple? What are you looking to see from them to know if they're ready to be marriage mentors themselves?
Some of the questions that they would ask, I think like Rhonda just said, they're going to start asking, they're going to ask to plug in. They're like, hey, you can see kind of the light in their eyes. They're not sitting on opposite sides of the couch. They're now sitting next to each other or whatever. So there's a lot of nonverbal cues that you can see. You don't have to be an expert at it. You're just going to see it.
Right.
But then they're going to ask those questions that'll really lead to, okay, they're asking specifically for, hey, I really like to teach in kids' church, or like Rhonda, how did you guys get into this?
Right. Yeah. How do we become marriage mentors? Yeah.
Right.
And don't you think it's important to look for, do they have a teachable heart? Have they demonstrated that they've learned from the information and their marriage has grown? Like you said, they may have started at ends of the couch, but now they're unified, working, have demonstrated a heart to work at their marriage.
Yes.
And at the beginning of each session, we kind of ask some questions, hey, how did it go this last week? And from those responses, you're going to be able to see that the marriage is, the mentoring has had an effect, if you will.
That's great.
And so you would know from those responses as you go through that, hey, I think they're at this point.
And depending on what we talked about each week, we give them a little, we call it homework, but it's just a couple tips and tricks to implement what we talked about.
And to see if they do that.
Exactly.
That's great. Well, that's good. Okay, so for you guys, and the last lesson in Marriage 101 is this lesson we call Close the Loop, which is an easy thing to kind of springboard the conversation of. If that couple looks interested in doing marriage mentoring themselves, you would help them and then bring them through the training.
Or individual mentoring, whichever way they may want to do that.
Exactly.
So men or women or whatever, it doesn't matter.
That's right. So if you're out there and you've now done the lessons of marriage mentor training, but now what you need to do is go through at least marriage basics, which is found in Marriage 101. Go through that with your ministry leader or a pastor just to get a sense for these are the topics. Especially marriage basics are that 3-lesson series that really is the foundation for all that we do about love, trust, and communication. Go through that with your ministry leader or campus pastor or pastor, and apply those principles to yourself, to your own marriage, and then you get a practice to see how the tools work, and then get connected to a couple and get going. So would you guys say, as you sit here today, that you are glad that you have been marriage mentors?
Yes.
I hope
really
that was your answer.
Absolutely. I really am. Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time. Use the questions, talk about this, and get going as a marriage mentor. I think you're going to see what a valuable experience it is for you and for the couples that you bless with your time.